So I think one of the things you notice when you're walking through the fan is the quality of architecture and how it speaks to an age or an era. And you can't help but ask yourself, what are we building today that people 50, 100 years from now will want to preserve?
In general, I mean, the first conversation is what is the right thing to put on this site? Is it going to be apartments or so forth and so on? And as we sort of got into it, the idea of creating, a series of row houses, which as part of the fan fabric makes the most sense.
And so when we saw the fan and when we started looking at this project, we saw the fan as being Richmond's predominant home for fine architecture. And so our goal was to also be within that realm of fine period architecture, but period being today. And so most of the homes there are either masonry or are wood-sided. And so we've chosen that same palette, but in a way that reflects fine period architecture today.
And our projects together have mostly been historic adaptive reuses, where it's an idea of creating a contemporary living in a historic context. Well, to some degree, that's what we're doing here, in that we're creating a new contemporary project within a historic community. And when you respect things like proportions, scale of rooms, scale of spaces, those things build familiarity, they build comfort, and they say today.
Well, I think one of the things, when you look at the fan, it's all homes that were built 100 years ago to 120 years ago, and our living styles have changed over the last 100 and 120 years. The idea of having separate living, dining, and kitchen is not something that's desired now. When we're entertaining, having that large open space is important. And so we've taken that aspect of new home building and we've incorporated the open living, dining, and kitchen. I think bathtubs or people taking baths isn't something that happens nearly as often as what it did maybe 20, 30 years ago. People would rather have the larger walk-in shower that has the different nozzle controls and the different settings, and something that is more indicative of almost like a spa. And so we've incorporated that into our plan as well.
I'm always trying to find that balance between what is obviously contemporary, where you look at this, well, that wasn't built 50 years ago or even 20 years ago, but that has also a certain recognizable fabric to it. And in this case, we're looking at materials that you and I are very familiar with: brick and wood, stone pavers, those kinds of things, because I think those are the things that make people feel comfortable. So working in historic neighborhoods means not that you're replicating what history has done, but you are understanding and being responsible to the things that make urban development work.